All right, so welcome everybody. If you're listening to this, you have probably just finished listening to our 3-part series on political polarization, and we want to thank you. Thank you very much for listening to that, and hopefully you found it insightful, right?
Yeah. We recorded our interviews with the experts back in December of 2023, and we're recording this very final groove session at the end of September of 2024. So, needless to say, much has happened.
Yeah, so if you had asked us back in December or maybe even June or July, who would have been the Democratic nominee to run for president of the United States,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I would not have put very much money on Kamala Harris. I would have said Biden. That changed. That's different, right?
Donald Trump has been shot at twice.
Well, he's been shot at once, and then he had another guy who was going to try to shoot at him. But still,
That's
there
true.
was assassination attempts on this. We have
Yeah.
a governor from my home state of Minnesota as the VP candidate in this political campaign. Go
Yeah.
Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota. Yay. Not that I'm pointing. Anyway. All right. There we go. What I think is interesting is that having done these interviews in December, Tim, that we had, at least I had, a different perspective. It was fun, almost scary to watch the process with this information in the background of my brain as we watched everything unfold.
I couldn't agree more, Kurt. That you can't. It's sort of like you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, sort of thing. Once we had all these interviews, once we went through this knowledge acquisition, I couldn't help myself. I can't help myself today from hearing a CNN or a Fox News talk about the candidates without feeling like they're part of the political elite and they are nut pickers. They're picking out the right. I can't stop myself, and I think that that's great. Right.
Yeah.
Like we are seeing this research play out in real time. We have a front row seats to the craziness.
We do. So let's. I want to kind of break some of this down, and I think what we want to do with this episode, it's going to be short, but I do want to kind of look at some of the things that we saw going on in the campaign and bring that back to some of the research that we heard. So first, you already said it, nut picking, right? This idea of nut picking negative exemplars, this was brought up by Sandy Petland and Mina, right? All of these ideas. I mean, one of the best examples of this in my mind is in the debate when Trump brought up Haitians eating cats and dogs, right? This idea is really this nut picking. Well, first off, it's probably actually disinformation because as far as we know, this is an unfounded claim that there are no proof that this ever even happened. But even if it did, and this is where the nut picking negative exemplar comes up, even if it did, it is not widespread. It is not all Haitian immigrants or illegal aliens who are in the country are stealing your pets and eating them. That is a falsehood. Yet it's being eaten up.
Yeah, we're also falling prey to the messenger effect that when the person that I tend to believe in, that my team leader basically says this, that I'm more likely to believe it. And so we have this terrible loop that's happening when it comes to nut picking and exemplars that it continues to reinforce on both sides.
Right, which is part of what Mina also talked about in her meta perceptions of the other side, right? This idea that we believe the other side is perceiving us in a certain way, and that makes us more likely to believe that they would do these types of things. And for instance, again, as I'm just thinking about what I've seen as watching this, there is the Daily Show. They go out and they do these interviews at the Trump rallies, and they are definitely nut picking the exemplars from the
Yes,
negative
they are.
exemplars of them. I'm sure they're interviewing many people at those Trump rallies that are giving actually halfway decent answers
But
as
we're
to
not
why.
seeing them.
No, because what we're seeing is the stuff that gets ratings, the stuff that is
That's right.
showing how, idiotic or, kind of hypocritical those people can be. And
Yep.
that helps in kind of furthering the belief that, yes, this is can lead down this stupid road of everything else. So,
It reinforces Mina's conversation about the toxic metaphors. We talked about like political violence or political warfare, right? And that has actually exploded into real violence. Like we've seen this arc and this transition from just having strong, abrasive rhetoric to now actually turning it into assassination attempts.
well, and this whole concept that Mina and others talked about in the episodes of that these perceptions, meta perceptions, and just perceptions in general are often incorrect, but because we hold them,
Mhm.
they actually drive different behaviors that then make the perceptions more
Yes.
real, that our behaviors then, it's this negative downward spiral loop. And you can see that, and particularly as you just talked about, Tim, the toxic metaphors and, politics as war. Well, it has become war when you look at, people out there, A, doing assassination attempts on President Trump, but B, also the bomb threats of things going on in Springfield, Ohio right now because of the
Yep.
eating pets thing and various different aspects of that. So I think that's a big piece of this, right?
Well, and that leads to this idea of that Yip Lelkus talked about as the absence of a shared reality. That we have people who are willing to believe something that just isn't true. Like what's
Yes.
happening in Springfield, we don't have any evidence. There is zero evidence to support the claims. And yet, JD Vance has gone on television to say, if I have to make up a story to get my point across, I'm going to do that. And it's like, how does that help our democracy?
Yeah.
How does that actually I get that it helps your team win, but how does that actually help our democracy when we start to devalue the idea that democracy exists on a shared reality, a shared belief system that the system will ultimately prevail?
Right. When we don't have that shared reality, it lends itself into a whole bunch of negative consequences. And particularly
Yeah.
when we think about preferences over beliefs, this idea where we want our team to win so badly that it actually changes our view of reality. Or actually, it may not be our team winning as the other team, not winning, right? We
Losing,
don't want
right?
to
Right.
lose because, again,
Yeah.
we have these perceptions of the other side and how evil they are that have been kind of brought upon us by the political elite. And when we look at people's views, when all of the research that was talked about, we are much closer in the actual everyday people living their lives in the United States. We are so much closer to
Yeah.
each other than the political elites or the people on the far end of every barbell would have us believe. And yet we don't understand that. We don't see it because that isn't how it's portrayed.
I, I I'm so glad that you brought up this preferences over belief things. The work that Kwabna Dankor did, right? That when we talked about that, it is really it's really great to have science investigating how our preferences can actually drive our beliefs or have a stronger influence on our behaviors than our beliefs do. There's always this thought that, oh, if I believe this, I'm going to hold true to my beliefs. My beliefs are really important, and then I'm going to act in ways that are consistent with my beliefs. But that's not the case.
No, we have confirmation bias. We have a number of other factors that come
Yes.
into play that distort reality. Again, going back to that absence of a shared reality in various different things. And we see the political elite spin things for their side. And each side does this, right? They are tying into the aspect that if they can impact the effective polarization, right?
Yeah.
That they get benefits of that. There is incentives for the media companies, incentives for the political parties, incentives for the political candidates to make us not like the other side.
Yeah.
And that is not good for America or for democracy in general.
It is not. And I don't want to just end on the downer side. I do want to say that we had really upbeat, hopeful examples of, first of all, concepts, like from Yip. I think about, people believe in democracy. They really do.
Yeah.
Americans, absolutely. Our preferences aren't as strong as the political elites would like to make them. And also, there's some really great interventions that are being designed. I think the stuff that Dave Rand and Josh Green are doing with trying to bring people together and put them in situations where they have to work together for a superordinate goal to
Yeah.
develop a solution brings the red team and the blue team to the American team. And I really love that.
the the Eagles and the Rattlers, we can work together, right? We can bring that.
Yes.
And now I know we are biased, right? We know that. We
Yep.
have our own beliefs and different pieces, you and I, and it's hard sometimes. At least I found it hard in knowing this to take that research perspective when I'm hearing things, right? But it can help. And so what I found was that it took some of the immediate gut emotional
Yeah.
reaction. If I could take a step back, it puts me more in my head and slows down my emotional reaction. So, understanding this research and understanding in particular
Mhm.
that I'm being spun, it helps in us maybe combating some of this.
And I hope that listeners take this away. I hope that groovers who check out all three episodes are going to maybe sort through this craziness just a little bit better, right? That you're going to maybe be a little bit more aware of how you're being manipulated too, how you are feeling that your side is being manipulated just as the other side is being manipulated.
Right. And maybe we can take an action from this to better understand the other side, to
Yeah,
break through our meta perceptions, and maybe even reach out and go out and make a connection with someone on that other side. Practice some compassionate curiosity. Go out
mhm.
there and break down those walls and don't let the political elite dictate our preferences and beliefs, and go out and make those choices and understanding ourselves.
Which
Get
is
out
hard,
there.
by the way,
It is.
because you're going to have to do your homework,
Right. Get out there, do
right?
your homework. Don't just take their word for it. And
Yeah.
think about this from a rational perspective. If this was the case, wouldn't
Uh,
this be, you know,
Yeah.
broaderly known that, talk to somebody that that lives in a certain area or does something? Like when those claims come out that just seem like really hard to believe,
Yeah.
or that are causing an emotional response, that is the trigger that you probably go, oh, maybe they're manipulating me, right? So
Yeah.
go out, do your homework. And folks, one big thing:
Mhm.
register to vote. If you are not already registered, we implore you, because that's the way that our democracy works, is getting out there, doing your research, understanding the issue polarization, which is fine, understand how you stand on the issues, and then vote from that. And to go out and register and vote, you can go to vote.gov. It gives you information on your state and what you need to do. So go out there, register to vote, and do it quickly, because some of those voting times, registrations kind of end even before the political day happens. So go out and do that. And we'll leave links in all of the episodes.
And with so many episodes that we leave you with, groovers, we hope that the information that we've shared with you will help you in your life, will help you go out and actually find your groove. So vote and find your groove.